Hi. 1 Corinthians 7. Now, concerning the matters about which you wrote, and then the ESV has quotes in this part. I'm not sure which other versions do also, but some don't. But some scholars are under the impression that he's quoting a letter that was written to him, and this is part of what it said. It is good for a man to not have sexual relations with a woman, but because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. So Paul is addressing, think about Corinth. And Corinth is like a gigantic cesspool of promiscuity and sin in general. And so some of the Christians in Corinth were like, let's just be celibate. Let's just never have sex at all. Let's just be totally opposite of what is around us. And then, Paul is trying to clarify here, let's read on. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer. But then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, as a concession, not as a command, I say this. I wish that all were as I myself am, but each his own gift from God, one of a kind and one of another. So if you have a problem with hearing that your body belongs to your husband and your husband's body belongs to you, one of the quotes I have written in my commonplace is, if you're offended by something, explore that, because that means that there is some kind of hurt there or some trauma there that you need to explore. So if you have a mental owie when you hear those words, explore that and pray about it. It's not saying this is saying in a Christian-based marriage, the wife is being treated like Jesus treats the church, and the wife is submissive to her husband as intended by the order biblically. There is love there, and it is good. The marriage is good. You're in a good place. You're not supposed to be like, well, you may be mad, so I'm not gonna have sex with you, that kind of thing. If you have a problem with the idea that your husband, if you think that, if you have a distaste for your husband and his desire to have sex with you, maybe ask yourself why you feel that way. There are times, obviously, that I don't feel like being intimate, but when I express that to my husband, he's like, okay, that's fine, right? But I'm not making your intentions, basically. I'm saying, so if your intentions are just, I don't want to, know that you married, and in your marriage, you have now bound your husband to you. He cannot have sex with anyone else but you. And if you are withholding sex from him, you're doing something wrong. That's bad. Stop doing that. And if you have a problem with him, you guys need to pray. Maybe go to counseling. I don't know what it is, but he needs to have sex, it says in the Bible. Because if he married you, that means that he cannot not. He's going to give into his desire to have sex. And you're kind of setting him up to cheat on you, or to make really bad decisions, get into pornography. I don't know. I'm not saying it's your fault that he becomes sexually immoral, but you're certainly not helping your husband when you've chained him by marriage and then you're withholding sex from him. That's not cool. And if you don't want to give your body to your husband, don't get married. If it bothers you, the idea that a man that you marry is going to want to have sex with you, if that bothers you, don't be married. This isn't an end-all be-all about marriage either. So you shouldn't use that verse as a pivot point for a man to be like, you owe me sex. Or for a woman to, this isn't, if you're trying to use this verse isolated from the entire Bible, then you have way bigger problems. And you need to just not get hung up on that. Okay, let me carry on. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time. So if you're fasting and prayer, but that has to be agreed on by both of you. You're not just going to be like, well, I'm fasting and praying, so we're not having sex for 3 weeks or whatever it is. Just know I've lived that life. I am a tired mom of 4, but I understand also that my husband, I made a commitment to my husband, and it's not like, well, what do you call it, like pity sex or whatever. But if you do have some sort of aversion to sexual relations with your husband and you're just like, you just really don't want to, certainly pray about that. Maybe get your hormones checked out. Maybe pray for him if he's not being someone that, you know, you're feeling loved and attracted to, and he's not pursuing you gently or whatever it is that you need to feel relaxed intimately with him. There needs to be a lot there. This verse, it cannot be, it's not black and white like that, and you need to be really honest with yourself, and I think only you would know that, whether you're withholding sex or not. Okay. Now, as a concession, not as a command, I say this: I wish that all were as myself, because it's argued that Paul was married, not married, I don't know, but at this point either he was not married anyway, and he's celibate. Because to the unmarried and the widows I say that it is good for them to remain single as I am, but if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So just know, if you don't want to have sex with your husband, it is better for your husband to be married, and he married you, and that marriage is a privilege, because you get to be intimate with your husband, but it's a responsibility, because in your hands lies his burning with passion. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So marrying you, your husband made that commitment to you, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion, so that he doesn't have to burn with passion. But then if you're withholding sex, he's suffering. Men, I would even venture to say men do suffer. Maybe with some women too, but I feel like men suffer more with that for whatever reason. I've got those impressions in my mind. Okay, to the married I give this charge, not I, from the Lord. The wife should not separate from her husband. He says not I, but from the Lord, because back in Genesis 2, wasn't it? He said, what God has joined together, let no man separate. In marriage, it's God's commandment. That's why he's saying, not I, but the Lord. But if she does, she should remain unmarried, or at least reconciled to her husband, and the husband should not divorce his wife. Okay, let me read that again. To the married, I give this charge. The wife should not separate from her husband. But if she does, she should remain unmarried, or else be reconciled to her husband. He's saying this because people are getting divorced way too easily. And you know, there are instances where a marriage just cannot go on, and the Bible recognizes that, and he's saying that's why Jesus said what he said, and the Pharisees were trying to get him caught up. And then there was this is also way back when the Jews and the rabbis were saying that you could just get divorced for no reason whatsoever. But this is basically, Paul's just urging them, like, this marriage is serious, and God wants marriage to be for life. That's basically what he's saying here, okay? And that's why he's saying she must be reconciled to her husband even after divorce, because if she's just divorcing willy-nilly, they're trying to stop her from just getting remarried because, oh, she found somebody better at work and she wants to marry this guy instead. You're not supposed to do that kind of stuff. That's why he's saying be reconciled to her husband, because if she divorces him, she shouldn't just be popping off to the next guy, getting married to him instead, right? To the rest I say, I, not the Lord. And that's not to say this isn't breathed by the Holy Spirit, because we as Christians believe that the entire Bible is written God breathed. But he's saying it because this isn't a commandment that was written. The Holy Spirit is revealing now, though, through him, that because he goes on to say that later if you pay attention. If any brother has a wife who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with him, he should not divorce her. If any woman has a husband who is an unbeliever and he consents to live with her, she should not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is made holy because of his wife, and the unbelieving wife is made holy because of her husband. It doesn't say they're saved, but there's a little bit of a missing. We don't really know what this means exactly as Christians. We know that it doesn't mean they're saved, but what does it mean by they are holy? But does it mean by association they have the chance to become saved because they have a praying wife or a praying husband? They're in close contact, married to a Christian, and therefore their lives could be blessed? Yeah. Yes. You go with your sister. That's a really beautiful color, honey. Just like God could use you to bless your church, he could use you to bless your family, he could use you to bless the community. One single person can be used to bless
I checked the weather outside, and
You can go outside if you want to. Did you
we
eat all
could
your
do
food?
the bouncy castle. It's the perfect temperature. Every time
But
there's a
isn't it
wind,
smoky?
no.
Otherwise, your children would be unclean. But as it is, they are holy. Because if the mom knows God, then the children do, right? Or if the dad knows God, then the probably children do, right? But if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such cases, the brother or sister is not enslaved. So say two non-Christians got married. Then one of them found God. Then this other person is just like, you know what, I really don't like this Christian you've become. They can leave. They can divorce, right? God has called you to peace. For how do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband? Or how do you know, husband, whether you will save your wife? He's also clarifying here, just because it says, an unbelieving wife is made holy because of her husband. It also says, how do you know, wife, whether you will save your husband? So he's not talking about the fact that if you're married to a Christian, you're automatically saved. But there's another verse in the Bible that kind of gives us an idea that perhaps this means it's you should never read into the Bible and put your own spin on things, but most can agree that it could mean something more, but it also certainly means that a Christian blesses their family. Hi! Are you awake from your nap, honey? Live as you are called. You want me to hold you? No. Okay. Only let each person lead the life. You got a lemur there. You're so cute. You woke up from your nap and you feel good? Hi, lemur. Aww, kiss, kiss, kiss. You want me to pick you up? Only let each person lead the life that the Lord has assigned to him and to which God has called him. This is my rule in all the churches. Was anyone at the time of his call already circumcised? Let him not seek to remove the marks of circumcision. Was anyone at the time of his call uncircumcised? Let him not seek circumcision. For neither circumcision counts for anything, nor circumcision, nor uncircumcision, but keeping the commandments of God. This is Jews that accept Christ live by the law and they are circumcised. But he's saying whether you are or you're not, it doesn't matter anymore. Don't be like, oh my gosh, I'm circumcised, what do I do? Or oh my gosh, I'm uncircumcised, what do I do? There's fights there because this is just, so soon after Christ came that there were people still practicing the law. And Paul is just saying, come as you are. You don't have to start keeping the law. You don't have to stop keeping the law. Just come as you are and accept Christ. For he who is called in the Lord as a bondservant is a freedman of the Lord. Likewise, he who is free when called is a bondservant to Christ. You were bought with a price. There it is again. Do not become bondservants of men. So, brothers, in whatever condition each was called, there let him remain with God. The unmarried and the widow it talks about here. Oh my goodness. Are you okay? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Hmm? Your hand does? You can't find the containers in the white box that's on by the Echo? Put your Play-Doh away so it doesn't get hard. And are all the Play-Doh toys cleaned up so I can put them back in the locker? Oh, cute. Jeremiah, look at me. Is your Play-Doh put away?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill, for the horse.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I don't know how to pick Mom,
You want that red one? Hey, Jill, I'm going to finish Bible study. Can you not jump on that? And then I'll be done in just a minute. Because that's really loud. Thank you. But I'll be done in just a minute. You want to go put on shorts and a tank top? You can go outside. We can go outside and play. Now concerning the betrothed, I have no command from the Lord, but I give my judgment as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. I think that in view of the present distress, it is good for a person to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be free. Are you free from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But if you do marry, you have not sinned. And if a betrothed woman marries, she has not sinned. Yet those who marry will have worldly troubles, and I would spare you that. This is what I mean, brothers. The appointed time has grown very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none. Let those who have wives live as though they had none, and those who mourn as though they were not mourning, and those who rejoice as though they are not rejoicing, and those who buy as though they had no goods, and those who deal with the world as though they had no dealings with it. For the present form of this world is passing away. This is saying everything of this world is passing away, and really just be good stewards and put God as your number one in life. And it's saying those who marry will have worldly troubles. Yet those who marry will have worldly troubles. I mean, if you're married, you understand that. Being married isn't easy. So he's basically saying it's easier to be single. You really don't have to try to please anybody but the Lord. But when you're married, you have to try to focus on the Lord and your spouse. So it is harder to be married. Marriage solves a lot of problems, like your burning desires for intimacy, but it also is the source of a lot of problems too. And he's just mentioned that. Got blocks? You may stack them. I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord. How to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife. And his interests are divided. It's true. And the unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. Whether married or single, you're devoted to the Lord. If anyone thinks that he is not behaving properly towards his betrothed, if his passions are strong, and it has to be, let him do as he wishes, let them marry. It is no sin. But whoever is firmly established in his heart, being under no necessity but having his desire under control and has determined this in his heart to keep her as his betrothed, he will do well. So then he who marries his betrothed does well, and he who refrains from marriage will do even better. Even better because, I mean, if it is a gift given to you to be able to be single without having any burning lusts. And if you have that gift, it's even better for you because your life is easier because your attention isn't divided and you can just dedicate your entire life to the Lord. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, she is free to be married to whom she wishes, only in the Lord. Yet, in my judgment, she is happier if she remains as she is, and I think that I too have the Spirit of God. He's saying, he believes he's speaking with authority through the Holy Spirit speaking through him. This study, I'm so sorry, I'm so distracted by the children here. And it's kind of a tricky topic, but basically, to summarize it in my words, Corinth is a nasty place. Paul is saying, if you have the gift to be single, it is a gift because you have a certain self-discipline that other people don't possess. If you have the gift to be single, be single. And if you have the gift to be married, be married. But don't beat yourself up about it, and don't try to be circumcised if you're not, and be uncircumcised if you are. It's not about the law anymore, because truly if you're not circumcised of the heart, then there really is no point. And to summarize, it is not against the Bible to divorce, but do not take divorce lightly, and don't just take it like you met someone new or you're just kind of mad. Marriage was intended to be lifelong. Also, if you're a woman withholding sex from your husband, explore that and see why, because that isn't nice for him, because he's counting on you that he doesn't burn with passion. He's a human man, right? I love you, honey. Okay? Have a nice day, you guys. Bye.